First, I'm going to ask those of you out there who are brave this evening and joining us in person that if you feel so inclined, feel free to move to the first 2 rows, move up. I promise we don't bite, but we just want to see you closer. We want to see your faces. This is, again, a very special evening because this is actually our first Must See Monday event in person since March of 2020. So again, it's a really terrific night to have all of you joining us, so thank you for being here. First things first, my name is Vanessa Ruiz and I will be moderating tonight's panel. I'm the Director for Diversity Initiatives and Community Engagement here at the Cronkite School, also a professor of practice, and still occasional news anchor with Arizona PBS and PBS NewsHour West. So now that we got all the formalities out of the way, welcome to our esteemed panelists, those of you here in person and those that are joining us also tonight via Zoom. Hello, hello. We are waving at you. I've officially been here long enough where I have actually taught some of our young alums panelists, and that feels really weird. So with all of that being said, just a few announcements before we get started. So here is your official reminder. Tomorrow, in case you didn't know, is Student Org Night right here in the First Amendment Forum. So come out, meet people, network, make some new friends. We know that a lot of you have been cooped up for the past 1.5 years, so this is really that opportunity to get out there and take advantage of the really wonderful clubs and organizations that Cronkite has to offer, which can really make a big difference during your time here. All right, and one last reminder, not only are we here in person, but this Must See Monday is also being streamed right now via Cronkite's YouTube stream. So if you want, let people know, you can also check it out there. So as I was mentioning, it's 1 hour. We're gonna be talking about all of the things. First 30 minutes, it's going to be a conversation with the panelists, and we're gonna leave the last 30 minutes for you all to ask the kinds of questions that you want to ask to the panelists, and we're only going to ask that you come to that center microphone that you see right there, okay? So without further ado, let's start first with those of us who are joining us via Zoom. So we're excited about the panel of Cronkite alums who are here with us tonight. Like I said, they're going to be sharing their wisdom, their expertise, their cringe-worthy moments, all of the above. And I have to tell you, we love having these alums come back because they really share the kind of insight that only Cronkite alums and students can really understand. They come from all types of backgrounds and expertise, and they make Cronkite Nation proud. So let's get to it. So again, for those panelists on Zoom, and hopefully, can you hear me? Terrific. Let's start with you all. What is your name? Where do you currently work? And what do you do there? And what year did you graduate? I see Marcella, I see Chancellor, I see Angel. Who else wants to start?
I'll go for it. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. My name is Angel Mendoza. I'm a social media editor for the Washington Post. I run our Twitter and Facebook, and I'm developing our Reddit strategy. And I already forgot like the other part of the question that you asked.
What, typical Angel. What year did you graduate, Angel?
Oh my God. 2018. Yeah.
2018. All right, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
I can go next. Hi, my name is Marcella Bayeto. I graduated Cronkite in 2020. I was the first class graduating from the pandemic, so that was exciting. Graduated, moved to Springfield, Illinois in the Midwest where I am now, and I'm a weekday evening anchor here at News Channel 20 in Fox, Illinois. We're a duopoly. I do the 5:30 and the 9 p.m. show, so I'm about to go in for another show after this. But yeah, I'm excited to be here, and I'm just excited that you guys are finally getting to kind of witness this in person, so that's awesome.
Thanks, Marcella.
I can go next. I'm Alex Wolf. I currently work at GCI Health, which is a global healthcare firm. I graduated in 2019, so right before all this started. And was that everything?
I think so. I think you covered it all. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Of course. Happy to be back.
Hey everyone, my name is Chancellor Johnson. I graduated in 2019, so not too long ago, and I'm currently here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, all the way up north. Here at NBC 26, I'm the weekend sports anchor slash sports reporter, covering all things Packers, Badgers, Bucks, all that good stuff. And it's kind of funny because this is like weird for me because I remember like being in that chair, like it feels like it was yesterday, and so like now to be here as a panelist is kind of funny now, but it's good to see everybody, and I hope you guys have a great, semester.
Thanks, Chancellor. Appreciate that. All right, and for those of you, let's start down the line.
So, hi, my name is Kanada Claw. I graduated from Cronkite in 2018, and now I cover the city of Scottsdale for the Arizona Republic.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Charles Clark. I am from the class of 2017. I'm currently a columnist at the San Diego Union Tribune, where I write, generally speaking, about how identity intersects with civic life in San Diego, which is kind of just a catch-all term that allows me to write about whatever I want.
That's excellent.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grayson Choi. I graduated the class of 2018, and I'm a content producer for the Arizona Cardinals. So I work in the broadcast department, and I shoot, edit, produce video.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us in person tonight. So, needless to say, right, this past year and a half has really forced all of us to be adaptable, flexible, nimble, even more so than ever for us journalists and communicators. What has this past year and a half taught you about the power of resilience and also about the power of asking for help when needed? Do you want to start maybe on this side of the panel?
I think that the last year you had to learn how to communicate with your coworkers online, which was not always easy because in a newsroom you can just yell across the room and someone will answer your question really quickly. And then you didn't have those casual conversations anymore, or those quick tips because someone was walking by your desk or something. So it taught me how to try to go a little bit out of my way to connect with my coworkers, to still get their input in my work, and to still have them helping me and me helping them.
Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I guess for me, the biggest takeaway, was just really about kind of mental health, I guess. I think there's a tendency for a lot of journalists to kind of just run ourselves, till we exhaust. And I think, it's been a very difficult year for just everyone in so many different facets of life. And I think one thing that I really learned this year was just getting more comfortable taking a breath and saying, this is what I need to do for myself. And I think that was true for a lot of my colleagues as well. We really kind of rallied together to support each other beyond the work of producing journalism.
Yeah, I was just going to add also, sometimes when you're working and you get used to your role and stuff, it's easy to get stuck in the same routine. So, when this happened this past year, it really forced at least us to kind of take a new approach to things. And that means trying things that might not work, and sometimes it will. And if that means, how do we get an interview done when you can't be face-to-face, whether it be virtually, setting them up literally between a curtain, like there's just so many different ways that you can do your job. I think this past year just taught us all those different opportunities.
For those on Zoom, the past year and a half, if you have to think about the power of resilience and the power of asking for help when you need it, can you share some of those experiences with us?
I think during sort of the height of the pandemic, I think last fall, I was working at the Arizona Republic at the time, and I think I was able to stay resilient through the help of the Guild over at the Arizona Republic. They're still fighting for a union contract. And we did a lot of things together through like phone calls, Zoom meetings that really helped keep that sense of community, even though we were so far apart. We were able to commiserate and just talk about how the pandemic is affecting us in our work lives from home. And we really got to talk with each other and really reevaluate our relationship with our jobs. I think the pandemic really taught a lot of, people about, just kind of, I think it encouraged people to sort of disattach themselves from, if that's even a word, from from their jobs, because I think a lot of people fall into the idea that they are their occupations and that that's their entire personality. But I think the pandemic really shattered all of those preconceived notions. And yeah.
So, oh, Chance, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for me, up here in Green Bay, it was really interesting trying to get adjusted to life after COVID, because my first year here was during the middle of football season, my first year, and I was in the locker room, got a chance to meet all the guys. I was, on the road, traveling, covering the games and practices, everything was in person. And that was half the year. I was kind of just getting my feet wet. And then, I was really excited for the next year. Okay, cool. First year down, I'm really excited. I can dive, full speed ahead, the following year. And that's when COVID hit in March. So all of last year for me was, like most people, was virtual. And so having to cover an NFL team where our press conferences are virtual, you're not able to make those contacts in the locker room, you're not able to be face to face. It was really challenging. But that was, to me, the biggest learning process was learning to be adaptable. And still to this day, right now, it's a little bit more in person. It's still kind of like, at a distance, social distancing, but, having to chase down those Zoom interviews and try to make, turn stories through Zoom and try to make those come to life when you only have one shot. Some of it is as, blurry or as dark as you guys see me right now, but just trying to, do what you can in any way that that's possible. And so to this day, we're still doing it. And I would say that too, is I don't think Zoom is going anywhere. So as we move forward, I'm still able to get interviews, down the line through Zoom. And I think, even after COVID passes, hopefully that is, soon, as we work our way towards that you still might be in a place to where we could still be using that. So just learn to be pretty much adaptable for me.
Yeah, for me, I started and I didn't even get to meet managers or my boss in person at all. And so when big situations would happen, like breaking news at night, it was just me, a photographer, and like a director, because everyone else is working from home, or meteorologists working from home, everyone. So in those situations, it kind of taught us, I'm in charge for some reason. There's, the newscast is banking on a group of 22-year-olds to figure out what's going to happen and what's going to get on air. And it's a big responsibility, but it makes you realize now that we do have managers involved in the newsroom, finally, we're back in and everything's kind of closer to normal. It makes us realize that we can do 10 times the amount of work that we did without everyone here and without having to run around and really be understaffed and under-resourced. And now, we have other issues, but we've been able to kind of navigate this really fast moving situation with a lack of resources. And I'm really proud of the people around here for what we've been doing through this pandemic, because a lot of us brand new to the newsroom, and now it's a brand new situation with the pandemic.
Yeah, I think for me, I just learned that you had to be extremely flexible. I actually found myself right when COVID hit, I was at an internship that I was hoping I could transition into, and because of the pandemic, they weren't able to keep us. So I actually stumbled into healthcare PR by nature of, what was available at the time, and, kind of switching my career path almost as a recent graduate. But actually, I think I kind of ended up right where I was supposed to be. And I learned that I was really able to leverage my connections. Everyone, my professors at Cronkite, they were all like so willing to pitch in and help and try to get me to the next step. So I think, like so many people who struggled to, maintain their positions and find jobs, May 2020, that just taught me a lot of resilience to kind of have to reach out for help, which I feel like a lot of people don't usually like doing. And, just trying to take it one step at a time.
Well, thank you all for sharing those experiences. I think certainly we can all agree it has been a challenging year and a half, but many of you have not only risen to those challenges, but have exceeded those challenges. So thank you for making Cronkite Nation proud. All right, so Chancellor, you talked a little bit about this. Let me ask the group here. If you could rewind and go back to your time at Cronkite, what advice would you give the students who are here listening and watching to this panel right now?
I think this is gonna sound a little cliche, but make the most of your time here. Make friends, connect with your professors. Don't be shy. Write as much as you can. If you're in broadcast or whatever, just do as much as you can. This school provides you with so many opportunities to get ahead when you're looking for a job once you're out of college, and just take advantage of all of them because they all look really good in your resume, in a cover letter, and yeah.
Sure. I think my big thing along with that would just be, don't be afraid to experiment with a lot of different things. If there's something you want to try, this is a really great environment to try it. And by that I mean, when you graduate and go into the workforce, not every newsroom you go into is going to embrace your creativity necessarily the same way, or necessarily have the resources to let you try new things or ambitious projects. But right here, you have faculty that'll support you doing it, and you also have the resources and means to get after it. So I'd highly recommend, if there's something you're just interested, even in dabbling with, right? If you want to try to do a VR project, this is a great environment to do it in. If you want to try your hand at some investigative reporting with, large data components, this is a great place to get your feet wet doing it.
Yeah, just adding on to that, I think you don't want to get stuck on one thing. A lot of myself included, I went in with this dream job and role that I wanted to get out of this. And the great thing about Cronkite is you're given all these opportunities, all these classes, that you're going to learn a little of everything. And you're going to fall in love with something, and you're going to fall in love with other things too. And you kind of realize not only what you're good at, but what you're going to love too. So I think the big thing is when you're taking these classes, really try to focus on seeing yourself, further and getting a job in that industry, because, I thought I was going to go in doing one job, and I ended up falling in love with video. And I'll tell you right now, I didn't think that from the very beginning, but I did, and I ended up getting a great job from it. So
for those of you on Zoom, if you could rewind that clock and give yourself some advice now, looking back, what would that be?
I'd say to look into the state of the industry at this point. Take a look into how local journalism has changed, and how your publication that you're eyeing for after graduation has changed. And look into why some newsrooms and a lot of publications are unionizing, and why that's a huge thing.
Oh, all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh. Chancellor?
Yeah, for me, I'm still, really big on video. I'm obviously on air, but one thing I would go back and probably tell myself is to do more writing. I love what I do. Like I'm still, even if I went back, I would still do on camera things, but I feel like there's a lot of opportunities that I could have taken advantage if I wrote a little bit more, if I wasn't so full on, like headstrong, and I'm just going to be on camera and, be an on air TV reporter. And I think, when you kind of dive into that writing space as well too, you are able to develop skills that transfer over. And I would say the same thing if you're a writer. If you feel like, hey, I just want to write, practice being on camera, because now the way the industry is changing, a lot of it, you're doing the same thing. So a lot of times people who write, they're on camera now. They have to turn around and present it, maybe not a full-blown story, but sometimes they have to, speak on camera. And so if you kind of get used to that early on, and obviously there's classes at Cronkite that kind of help you along that way, but, take advantage of all the resources there with the clubs, whether it's, State Press to WCSN, House of Sparky, all of that, take advantage of that, use your resources, and don't be afraid to experiment a little bit and get out of your comfort zone.
My advice, real quick, just chill out, do less things at times. I know, and I was very much involved in the school. Like I was a aggressive, okay? I was everywhere all the time. And it took over my life. And I look back at college, I had so much fun, don't get me wrong. But, I would have loved to gone to go to another football game. I would have loved to go to a party every once in a while. And I think I overdid it to an extent where I kind of missed that. Now I don't do that, especially not here in Springfield. But I just, just think about that. You're still in college. You still have friends. You are, still around. So much fun. And so don't completely put your identity just in a degree that you're getting. You're so much more than just that.
I think my advice would be, no matter what you think you're here to do at the start of Cronkite, I think definitely have an open mind. And I think give every kind of specialty your full attention. I think for me at the beginning, I thought I wanted to be like a magazine editor, which is so far off from what I do now. But, even so, it's like you focus on your writing and you focus on your editing. And I'm not great at Premiere or Photoshop, but I tried really, really hard in 305 to do good enough. And, just try, I think, every step of the way. And then, you're going to end up where you're supposed to be no matter what. So I think for me, I just kind of, about a semester, and I think I realized I wanted to do the public relations program, but I think I really tried to give everything a fair shot before I really transitioned into that area.
I just want to add one more thing to my answer too. I would tell myself to join the state press a lot sooner than I did. I worked closely with Alex and Marcella too, and we're here now. So that tells you all that you need to know.
Yeah, and one last thing for me as well. Just piggybacking up from Marcella's point, I think that's an excellent, an excellent point of, enjoy college while you're there. I was like Marcella, where I was full steam ahead in my career. Oh, I can't wait to get to the next level and do what I want to do, and that's great. And it did definitely set me up for success to where I am right now. But those 4 years go by very fast, and once it's gone, it's gone. Right now, I check Snapchat, and those memories of like when you first start the semester, seeing all my friends and things like that, and we're all in kind of different places, and it's like, man, it feels like it was just yesterday, and now it's work, and that's cool. It's fun. I enjoy it, but definitely enjoy college while you're there. And there's a lot of people who are just graduated or, spent at least 1 year or a year and a half where, they were virtual and they didn't have the opportunity to be in person. So make the most of it while you're there.
That's some terrific advice from all of our panelists. Some highlights to pull from there, even though it does sound maybe a little cliche. This is the place to step outside of your comfort zone. I always say, think of Cronkite a little bit as your own personal playground. What are the things that you can try that maybe you've never thought about before or that you don't really see yourself doing? Like you said, you might find that you actually love something you never anticipated, or you may actually find out that one thing you thought you were gonna love, maybe that's not for you. This is the place to try all of the things. This is that time. And make memories not only inside of these walls, but also outside of these walls. Create those friendships and those memories that are gonna last you a lifetime. I think for many of us, we're more conscious about the importance of those kinds of memories and experiences than ever before. Okay.
Can I give an example?
Sure.
Sorry. I met my fiance in a classroom right upstairs, and if I hadn't opened up to him when we were in Puerto Rico for Ricky Rodriguez's class, we probably would have never bonded and never gotten together. So also just open up your mind for the people who are here, because they could change your life.
Well, actually, that's a really terrific point, and thank you for sharing that, because we have a question that's gonna come up that talks a little bit about that. Okay, so for the panelists, so far, what is one mistake that you're willing to share with us tonight that you have made in your career that has taught you a big lesson?
I think I've got something. So with Arizona Cardinals, I started out as an intern for 3 seasons before I turned into full-time. And I think the biggest thing is, even being an intern, it's about learning and it's about growing. And I think for me is sometimes people only look at you at your job as the intern. And sometimes that kind of gets looked over too, because you need to be able to be your own person. And in the end, the whole idea is that you're going to turn from an intern to a full-time employee. It may not be with that company, but somewhere you're going to be a full-time employee, and you're supposed to learn from your internships. So I think for me, you just need to be able to build your self-independence and know that in the end, like, this is what you're going to be doing, and you shouldn't be just taking that job based on the small duties that you're given and things like that, because in the end, it's going to turn into something a lot bigger. It's something that you're going to love and do for hopefully like the rest of your life. So for me, you know, even as an intern, I should have been more, I guess, urgent to like learn more and like become just this better employee too, knowing that, you know, this is my chance to prove myself, and I have so much more to learn here. I'm not going to just be the intern, and have that in your mind that this is going to turn into something else. Be persistent, be urgent, have that ambition in the back of your mind the whole time.
Great advice, yeah.
Yeah, I think one example I kind of have is kind of the overarching point is just get comfortable being honest with yourself about what works for you and what doesn't, and what you like and what you don't. By that I mean, don't just take an internship because it's at some prestigious place if it's not going to allow you to pursue work you're passionate about or pursue work that'll allow you to have an impact. I mean, those are kind of the two that I measure by, because it's great to get a line on your resume, but if you're miserable the whole time you're there, it can be kind of a nightmare experience. And I know for me, I was always someone who really liked human stories. I really cared a lot about civil rights and social justice, and really, you know, shining a spotlight on things that would lift people up. But despite that, I took an internship that just really wasn't a good fit with me. It was a financial, you know, it was at Bloomberg, which is a great company, but that's not their thing. And I knew that going in, but I did it anyway because in my mind, I thought it looked better on a resume. And I really didn't get as much out of the experience as I would have had I gone with one of my other options that was a bit more aligned with what I was really passionate about.
Good advice. For those of you, go ahead, Renata.
An example for me is that my first job out of college, I worked as a digital content producer for a TV station, and I didn't love it, but I was stuck in a 2-year contract, which sucks because I had to be there every day, and what I pledged to myself was write as much as I can during my free time, get my job done, but also report as much as I can and get my clips so I could make the next step and get the job I wanted. So I worked really hard to make my portfolio look good to move on to what I wanted next. So even though you might feel stuck and say, oh my God, it's 2 years, it's not that long. And you can still work towards something that you really want.
For those panelists on Zoom, a mistake so far that has taught you a lot in your career?
Yeah, I think for me, you know, I moved out to Washington, D.C. September after graduating in May. So this is 2019. And I kind of compromised a bit on the job I took. I knew it was probably something I wouldn't love when I got there. I was kind of right. I didn't really fit in. I found myself trying to fit in, being like, you know, I can just stay here while, you know, maybe I'll stay here for a year. And I think at one point I just, you know, wanted to, I guess, advocate for myself and be like, no, I want to be somewhere different. And so I actually started interviewing, and I took a step back from a full-time role into an internship so I could, you know, try to get where I wanted to be. And that ended up being, I think, a really crucial moment in my career, getting me where I am now, where I am a lot happier. So I think definitely just, you know, kind of like what others have said, take stock of what you want and really just advocate. You know yourself best, you know what you want more than anyone else, and just do what you need to do to get there. And yeah.
Yeah, I think a recurring theme with all of these answers so far is not totally realizing your worth in the moment. I mean, when you're just graduating, you're willing to take much of anything. And the recurring, like, I guess, I don't know, stereotype with journalism is like, we're not in this for the money, so I'll just go for anything. And I really wish that after I graduated, I had done a little bit more research into the field as far as wages and salary. And I wish I would have actually looked up what a livable wage is in Phoenix. But things did turn out okay. I liked, working at the Washington Post is a dream job, but I think a mistake that I made after graduating was just being a yes man to anything, any I guess opportunity that falls my way. I was super grateful for it, but at the same time, I wish I was a little bit smarter with kind of understanding my worth, what my skills were, and yeah, just knowing that $29,000 is not a livable wage. That's not what I got, but that's what I suggested when I got my job offer. They gave me something a lot higher than that, but it was definitely not. I'm a child.
Thank you so much for that. Before we move on, I just want to make sure if anybody else wanted to share, but if not, we'll move on to the next question. What I heard a lot there was, one, be strategic, right? Be strategic in terms of your next steps. Where do you want to go in your career? How do you want to get there? What are the things that you need to do to get there? And I also, did my microphone just die? Hello? Oh, it's back. And I also heard know your value, right? Know your worth. That's also really important in any kind of business. And finally, I also heard sometimes to get where we want to go, you may have to take a step back to then take 2 or 3 steps forward. And I have to tell you, that is really great advice and not just applicable perhaps during your time at Cronkite or right after, but well into your career, 20, 30 years later, right? Think about what it is that you really want to do and how do you get there. All right, I have one last question for the panelists, and then for our audience members, start thinking about those questions that you'd like to ask them, okay? And this goes a little bit to what you were sharing before. As we've said, we've all gone through a major change on so many levels, right, this past year and a half, from the pandemic to social justice, to social justice movements all across our nation, our community, even our school. What would you say to the students here today in order to get them all thinking about what it really takes to be a curious, open-minded, respectful, inclusive person, journalist, and communicator?
Talk to as many people as you can, even if you're just out on the street and a stranger just starts conversation with you. Talk to them, try to connect to them, try to connect to as many people as you can, because that's gonna add so much background to your life. I'm Brazilian. I grew up in Brazil, and I moved to the United States about 4 years ago. But before that, I had lived in England. I had lived in Italy and volunteered in India. And what I can tell you is that the more people I met that were different from me, the more tolerant, the more accepting, and less judgmental I became. So try to talk to as many people as you can. Cronkite is a very diverse school. There are a lot of foreigner students here. Try to connect with them and learn from them, learn from their experiences.
Yeah, I mean, to steal a phrase from Ted Lasso or Walt Whitman, be curious, not judgmental, right? I think one thing that it took me a while to get used to, especially in my role as a columnist, I have people write me nasty emails every day about just about anything I write. But one thing I found is that instead of just necessarily ignoring everyone or ignoring people out in the field who may be a little hostile, if I take a breath and I actually talk with them and just kind of ask them questions about themselves, you'll be amazed by how many people will open up. And often you don't want to assign malevolence to something that may simply be a difference of opinion or just a difference of life experience, right? Everyone walks a different path. There's a lot of things you won't know unless you lived it. And I can tell you that that's something I found to be true in just about every facet of my career. I mean, I've been at events where I've had Trump supporters berate me relentlessly and then turn around and have a really productive conversation with me apologize to me, tell me, oh, I didn't know what that's a journalist is like. Just because I took a moment, I put away the notepad and I tried to talk to them at their level and as a human being. And that would be kind of my big thing.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off what you said, but again, cliche, it's not what you know, it's the people you know. And I'm not saying that name dropping is ever gonna get you like where you wanna go completely, but I think just surrounding yourself by everyone possible, it's not only gonna just help you in general, but you're gonna learn from them. There's so many things, just seriously, if you're standing in line at Starbucks and the person in front of you, just talk to them. There's so many things you can learn from them. Again, getting stuck on one thing, like I know for me, I was in sports journalism. I felt like we were kind of always just our own little group of being in sports and stuff, when in reality, I had a lot of friends too, just in journalism in general and PR and everything, and I learned so much just from them. They're in a little bit of different classes, I'm in a little bit of different classes. When you talk to them, you're gonna learn all these different things. And really, that's, again, like you build all these skills, they translate over to all these other opportunities. So it's, again, like who you know, like, don't be afraid to become friends with your teachers. Be the teacher's pet a little bit, because they have so much wisdom too. Like, they will teach you everything. You're gonna get your foot in so many doors when you know a lot of people and take what they're gonna teach you too.
Panelists on Zoom.
So when I first got here, one of my biggest hurdles was getting embedded into the community and feeling like I was a local and understanding what these people were really mad about or really happy about within the community and what we could try to do to help and make their lives better. Because at the end of the day, I think that's especially local journalism, the whole point of it, it's driven by community and we're supposed to make this community better for them. And we live in this community with them. So I took it upon myself. Anytime I was in the elevator, I was like this weird person. I would go up and be like, hey, what do you want to see on TV and what can we do better? And they would always tell me the same thing. I was at the grocery store, at the library, getting gas anytime. Hi, I just moved here. I'm so-and-so, and I really want to know what you want to see on TV. And they're like, I want to see real people and I want to see good news. Okay, let's do that. I brought that to my boss, sat him down like, hey, can we do this? I've asked so many people. Why can't we just give the viewers what they want to an extent, right? Because they also probably don't want to hear about all this important information, but they do need to hear it to an extent. And so we made our own good news segment. That's what I focus on now. And it's brought in this whole other layer into our newscast. People look forward to it. We get calls every single day about it. I mean, it's really brought this community together during a time where we were really seeing some tragedy on TV. So don't be afraid to go up to a random person, like a lot of the panelists have said, and introduce yourself. Hi, I'm new, I'm a reporter. It's part of your job, you know what I mean, to really be uncomfortable and be in those situations. So don't feel bad and just make conversation with the random person at Starbucks. It'll lead you to some good story ideas.
I would say for me, I just, I'm continuing to learn on a variety of different topics. But even as a African American male, like I read books on African American history to keep up on and learn stuff about my culture and my history and learn different things that extends to other cultures as well. And so, piggybacking off of Marcella's point with that too, I think it's really important that you do surround yourself with different groups of people, especially while you're at Cronkite. And if you're a freshman, yeah, take advantage of this opportunity, because if I'm not mistaken, I think everybody has to stay at Taylor Place. And after that, after your freshman year, a lot of people go on and they go different directions. They move to Tempe, they different apartments or whatnot. But this is a time where you really can put yourself out there and meet a lot of different people with various backgrounds. And you never know like what could happen as far as like to this day I have people like all across the country that like, oh, I remember I had that conversation with them, way back when, or whatever the case might be. And sometimes you never know, like you might need their help, or they could just just stay in touch. So take advantage of this opportunity while you're at Cronkite, and get a chance to meet new people.
I'd say a common thing is that they always tell you to like don't read the comments, but you should read the comments a little bit whenever you can. As someone whose entire life is completely not controlled. Well, not controlled. You know what I mean? But affected by social media, I feel a sense of responsibility in that everything that I do off the post account, after publishing it, I don't stop looking at it from there. I keep an eye on it. throughout the day, throughout, like if it's a huge project, I keep an eye on it throughout the weeks. And my point here is that whatever content you produce out into the world, or whatever story you report, you should keep an eye on how it's affecting the community that it's covering for months, years on end, and really take ownership of your work, because some people like to just fall into the habit of producing a thing, forget it, go on to the next thing, produce it, forget it, don't look at the emails, don't look at the comments, don't see how whatever you're reporting is affecting, these people that you talk to. And that could be a very dangerous thing. I mean, it's mentally, like, I guess for mental health, like, you shouldn't expose yourself to everything that you receive on social media, but at the same time, you should have a capacity to take in feedback whenever you can and use it for good.
Yeah, and I think for me, on the same vein as, just learning and talking to people, as a few others have mentioned, don't take everything at face value. We can look up literally anything within 10 seconds. I think just if you hear something, don't assume it's right. Don't assume it's wrong. I think I look up 500 things a day, and just try to be as responsible with information as I can. Even talking to my parents, and they'll say something, and instead of just agreeing because they're your parents or whatever, I'm like, oh, let me Google that before I before I respond. So that's kind of my take.
So I think what I'm hearing is talk to people, right? That seems to be the overarching theme. Talk to the people that maybe you wouldn't normally talk to before you got to Cronkite, and come at it with a genuine curiosity. And my hope is that, again, as journalists and communicators, most, if not all of you here in this room this evening, have that natural curiosity inside of you, because you want to know things, you want to learn things. So use that natural curiosity to expand your knowledge, like you said, your acceptance, the ability to connect with people, because the more you connect with people, the better relationships, the better stories, right? All right, well, thank you all so much for sharing some of that expertise and wisdom. Now we're opening up the microphone to all of you. So if you'd like to ask a question, any question, feel free to step up to the mic and tell us your name and what year are you in, please.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I am a freshman, and I'm doing journalism and mass communication. Just a question for you guys, just anyone, like, what was your favorite class that you guys took at Cronkite?
Borderlands with Vanessa Ruiz.
I did not pay her to say that. I promise.
Yeah, you did. You can't lie to them. I'm just kidding. She's the best teacher. Cronkite News in general was really, really great. So suggest that.
For me, it was Cronkite News in DC. I worked with Steve Crane, and he's just amazing. He taught me so much, and I had a great time there.
Mine would be an investigative journalism course with Walter Robinson. But just across the board, I think our investigative journalism courses are fantastic, and I'd highly encourage you to check them out.
I would say the Phoenix Sports Bureau, because that's when you finally get to take all the classes that you've done and really get yourself in the field, get your feet wet, get out there and everything, and get the experience.
Mine would be definitely the Cronkite Sports Bureau. Shout out to my guy, Brett Curlin. He's an awesome professor. And to this day, we still keep in touch, and that's my guy. But he taught me so much on a variety of different things, and he helped get me to where I am right now. The other class, definitely sports videography with Tom Fergus. Believe, as he would always say, and he really helped sharpen my skills when it comes to videography.
Mine was depth reporting with Jackie Petchel. She came in the first day and was like, you have to do one story about refugees. And then that was it. And then I didn't have my main sources until October. So definitely figured out my reporting chops then. And I hope she's still teaching it. But yeah, if she is, you should definitely take it.
She is, Angel.
Mine was definitely Mark House's strategic communications and leadership course. I think for me, that was kind of the class that made me feel confident in what I wanted to do next.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bergen, and I'm a freshman studying journalism and mass communications. And my question to you guys, or maybe just one or two, is I know you guys were saying to be like strategic and choose internships and jobs that you like are truly interested in and think are gonna like help further your career. So what is something that we should like look for when we're applying to internships and jobs?
Go to Glassdoor and see the reviews on the job on the company that you want to work for, and if possible, just look it up their staff, see if there's anyone who went to Cronkite that you know that you could connect and try to have an honest conversation with them.
Yeah, along with that, I would just say, trust your gut with what kind of sense you get from the people who interview you. I found that the internships that I enjoyed the most were with editors that I just really seemed to click with in the interview. And I knew, oh, okay, this is probably going to be a good experience. And just that took me miles.
Again, going back to it's who you talk to. The great thing about Cronkite is everyone here is going to get an internship. And so, you're going to meet people that are a little older than you, have experience, have done certain internships. So you talk to them and you get the idea of, okay, this person loved this internship and I can see myself liking it too, type thing.
Thank you.
I had to leave.
No, go for it, Marcella.
I just wanted, no one ever talks about this, and no one talked to me about this during internships and this whole thing. Think about a financial plan. And I know that sounds like super adulty and stuff, but a lot of these don't pay. And when you're having to travel, I went to New York to do an internship. And I mean, that's money I don't have that I had to get somehow. And so you need to keep in mind a plan, whether that be, as a freshman, you get a part-time job and all that money goes to a future internship, or maybe you have family members that are willing to help or whatever, but just start, if you are wanting to go to a different city or get at one of those huge internships at a big network, think about the financial way to get there, because that's something that no one talks about. And yeah, they might pay you, but living in New York City, you can't get by on just minimum wage. So just please do some research, look it up, do your thing. But either way, if you get there with hard work and a little bit of a plan, you'll get there and be just fine. But I just wanted to thank everyone for coming. I have to go to work now, but thank you so much. If you guys want to get in touch, feel free to message me on social media. I'm always willing to take anyone's questions. Goodbye.
Bye, Marcella. Have a good show.
Thanks.
And actually, that's terrific advice, especially when you're talking about internships that are unpaid, and that's a whole nother conversation that we should absolutely take a look at. Yes, financially, how are you going to manage that if that's something that you really want to go for? That's something that we should absolutely talk more about. So thank you. Hi.
Hi, my name's Kristen. I'm a journalism and mass communications major, and I'm a freshman. And I was just wondering, some of you are local reporters, more national or global. How do you kind of find that balance between both reporting on important national and global news, but also emphasizing that importance of local reporting?
Yeah, so I think with the column, what I try to do is I always look for the local thread or try to find a way to illustrate why this matters to my community, even if it's a national issue, right? So, I wrote a column about reparations, which wasn't something that was necessarily being talked about in California, but it had the potential to be. There had been bills going through there. It was something to put on people's radar. I also wrote about January 6th. I think that's one of those things that certain things are so big that it's pretty easy to establish that there is a local interest and importance. I think just really trying to find creative ways to remind people why this matters, because there are things that may just be a national story that do still matter to them as individuals, and as long as you can illustrate that, I think it tends to resonate.
Get to know the community you're covering. I cover the city of Scottsdale, and I'm lucky because Scottsdale residents are very engaged in city politics. But the more I got to know them, the more I understood what matters to them. And I don't know if what matters to them are big national topics at all. It's more like development, short-term rentals, that sort of thing. And that's where I try to focus most of my time, because at least I'm lucky enough to work in a big newsroom that will be paying attention to all of these other issues, and I can really focus on my local issues.
I'm not necessarily a reporter or anything like that, but the Washington Post is very global and they have a balance of local DC reporting and just national world news. So at least on the accounts, I like to maintain a healthy balance by, obviously we do have more of a weight towards national news, but I try to give local news, some airtime whenever something happens that we cover locally that has national importance. I can't think of something at the top of my brain right now, but just think about anything that happens in California or like Arizona that pretty much anyone in the United States would want to hear about. Those are the kind of stories I give a lot of airtime to on Twitter and Facebook. And then to fill in the gaps of any DC reporting or any like local DC stuff that we do, I try to look to Reddit to fill in that gap, because Reddit is very good with it's very good at giving you a space to interact more, I guess, hand to hand with the community, and that's what I did at the Arizona Republic as well. And they continue to do a very good job of doing that. So Renata, please pass that down.
Thank you, everyone. Good advice.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Connor. I am a freshman studying sports journalism, and when it comes to specifically covering sporting events for a particular team or network, on average, how much time does it take or how many days to prepare for an upcoming event, and does it vary greatly depending on the specific sport that you're covering?
Yeah, so for me, I'm specifically Arizona Cardinals, specifically football. So when it comes to preparation, really, I guess it just kind of depends what we're covering exactly. With the, I guess, events and stuff, we're really good hand in hand with the other departments and everything, so they'll work with us, and we have a good relationship with a lot of the players, so we'll actually be in contact with them to let them know, what's going on, when the event is and all that. And when it comes to games and stuff, it's a game week. We're right away preparing on that Monday, the day after the game. So again, we talk about routine and stuff. You very much get in a routine throughout the season, but with preparation and stuff, you kind of get used to it. So it takes, again, it depends on like what you're covering, but for games, it's the full week. We got TV shows, we've got all of our social media videos and stuff that we're doing. And, with the pandemic and stuff too, we've gotten a really good idea of putting together a Google Doc, and we got the calendar and everything of when things are due and, how to prepare for each thing, so.
I would say for me, looking back on it, when I came to Arizona State, I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I didn't know much about ASU athletics coming into it until I started until I started joining clubs and I started diving into reporting and things like that. And, naturally, my first year was kind of just trying to learn, the history of ASU, where they kind of, where they ranked in the years past and the players, the coaches, things like that. And then, I started that probably my freshman year just as a fan, started covering them my sophomore year and on. And by the time, you cover them for a season, you kind of get the gist of it. So you kind of already know about the teams that you're covering, the players and so on. And another example, same thing here, coming to Green Bay, obviously I know about the Packers. I know Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback and things of that like that. But I had to kind of, learn about the history there. And then now this is my third season covering the team. And I can tell you a lot more, now that I've been here for a little while. And so even in the case of what's been happening as of recently with Aaron Rodgers and all the Rodgers Rama, as I like to call it, I've covered the team for 2 years now, so I saw the writing on the wall. Like I saw play out over this past season. So now when it comes, it's not a surprise to me, right? You're like, covering the games, listen to the press conferences. Now you're just putting all those pieces together, and then now when news breaks, it's like you have reference points to go back to. So I think if you're new to ASU or new to the area, or don't know a ton about ASU for starters, or the Suns or Cardinals, whatever it might be, just start paying attention, and then naturally, as you start to cover it little by little, things will start to add up, and it's like putting puzzle pieces together.
Thanks, Chancellor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pratham. I'm a freshman studying journalism and mass communication, and I'm interested in broadcast. This is meant to be more of a fun question, but journalism is more than a 40-hour-a-week job where you often have to work weekends and holidays. Even though this is something that we all love, journalism as an art, how do you manage to stay sane and avoid burnout? What's your escape?
How do you stay sane? That's a great question.
So when you're off, try to not be checking your emails for the minutia of your newsroom, for details, for what the weekend team is doing. If it's not breaking news, if it's not something that you're going to need to be called into the newsroom or called into work, just forget about it. Live your life. And yes, like if something really big happens, have like AP news notifications on your phone so you kind of know, but try to stay offline when you're off.
Yeah, I would just say try to have personal ties that aren't necessarily strictly related to journalism, and that can be, something big or something small, right? So like when you're off, go volunteer at an animal shelter if you really like dogs or something. That's like something I used to do. Or just it could be as simple as having at least one friend who is not a journalist. I love journalists. I'm friends with a lot of them. But sometimes when you're surrounded by journalists, it could be a little difficult to turn off, just the nature of the beast. And sometimes it's just nice if you have someone who is totally unrelated to it who kind of helps you unplug.
Yeah, I'll just go off that too. Just really quick, is just you got to love your job, first of all. You think it's not, you're going to lose your sanity if you don't like your job, then you're going to definitely lose your sanity. But also, what they're saying is use your off time wisely. I was always social in college, but now that I have a job and I'm working so many hours and holidays and I'm away from my family, every day, like I'm already looking ahead. It's like, all right, what am I going to do after work? Am I going to have, time by myself, or am I going to try to hit up a friend and, get happy hour and stuff? You got to use it wisely and do things away from work.
Angel, were you going to say something?
Sorry, I interrupted because the camera's not facing like the people there, so I couldn't tell who was going next. I'm so sorry. I just said Animal Crossing. I bought a Nintendo Switch recently from a coworker, and it's doing wonders. I just moved to DC recently, so just moving in and everything's been super stressful, along with the job, of course. And like as you can see, my wall art over there is still not back up. It's going great. I'm still trying to figure out how to live with my own stuff like that, and playing Smash Brothers and Animal Crossing on the Nintendo Switch is a very good distraction if you're into that.
All right. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.
Good advice. I would say, just to expand a little bit on what you were sharing, I think it's really natural, and it happens often when we tie our identities to our profession, whether it's journalism, mass comm, digital audiences, sports, because this is an intense, passionate career, right? You love it. And what I would encourage all of you is try thinking of taking that job away, right? Just imagine what that would be like. Take that job away, and who is left? Who are you without that job? And if you can start focusing to build that up just as much as you focus on the job, I hope that you'll find a much better work-life balance.
Thank you. Hi, oh crap, my voice is so loud.
Whoa.
I was not expecting that. I apologize.
No, you woke us up.
Well, I'm always happy to be your own personal Red Bull, I guess. But hi, I'm Sam, and I'm a freshman majoring in sports journalism. My question is for Chancellor. This question is probably not good to ask in Phoenix, Arizona, but what was it like covering the Bucks championship run?
I know a sports reporter when I see as soon as he steps in the mic, I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely
He's got the sports projection down.
Absolutely. Oh man, it was a blast. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a lot of fun. Obviously here in Green Bay, it's about an hour and a half out from Milwaukee. So typically we don't go and cover them during the regular season, especially not during football season. It's everything Packers. But we knew part of me signing up to come to Green Bay is I'm very big on basketball, and I knew I have the opportunity to cover the Packers. That was right there, but Giannis and the Bucks was definitely high up on my list. And so over the past the past month, going down to Milwaukee for pretty much all of their home playoff games it was a blast, man. It was pretty cool to see how the city turned out for their championship parade. It was their first championship in 50 years, and to see Giannis deliver them that title, and just see just the city just so excited. It was really cool, and it sucks. I feel sorry for all the people out here in Phoenix. I got a chance to actually see some of my son's reporters, some of my peers and colleagues out here in Phoenix while they were up here. But it was a lot of fun, man. Hopefully they repeat, and I get a chance to cover that again. So I loved it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Sam. All right, it's 7 o'clock, but we'll make sure that we get our last 3 questions in.
Hi, my name is Zach. I am a freshman majoring in sports journalism. And I know for me personally, I have a lot of envy and jealousy for other journalists and my peers and people in those lofty positions. And I'm sure that you guys feel the same as well as most of the people in this room. So how do you make sure to stay grounded, know your worth, and get in those positions where you want to be?
Yeah, I think I kind of mentioned a little earlier is just really know your worth. You're going to start off doing internships and stuff, and they most likely will be unpaid. But again, I think you need to look at it as this is how you're going to build yourself. This is where you're going to grow, So if you take that in your mind and again, just know your worth, you're going to learn a lot, and then you're going to get better opportunities later. So I think that's just the main thing is stay true to yourself, and then just remember that you're going to just keep growing as an individual too, and you will get to that level.
Yeah, not much I can add. That was pretty great. I would just say that the thing that keeps me grounded is reminding myself that I'm only half as smart as I think I am. And I like to think I'm pretty brilliant, but life has a funny way of humbling you. And if you are not grounded, life is going to make sure that you come back down one way or another.
I would say, to run your own race. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great things around you, and that's awesome, but you kind of have to just focus on yourself. With that being said, in turn, for me, one thing that did work for me is I had some of my peers who were my closest friends until this day, but we were all doing the same things. And for me as a format, I played basketball in high school, but kind of that competitive nature, it was a fun, and good, healthy competitiveness, right? We were always pushing each other to get better. So it wasn't, there was no jealousy, there was no backstabbing. And just, a quick story. If you ask Brett Curlin, he'll tell you one of my closest friends is Eliab Goodbye. We do the same stuff, content, cover the same things. And we were able to come up together. We both pushed each other, and we always support each other and things of that nature. So it was a healthy competitiveness, and that's okay as long as it is healthy and not actual jealousy. But with that being said, be sure to focus on yourself and develop, and self-development. But it's not a bad thing to have push each other with some of your peers. That's what they're somewhat kind of here for.
And I think too, just don't get too ahead of yourself. I think focus on the immediate next step in front of you. Don't see someone who is 4 years older than you, who's a beat reporter for the Patriots, and be like, I want to be them. Take stock of where you are and be like, okay, what's the next best thing I can do? Oh, I can take this class, or oh, I can try to get this internship, or I can join this club. I think just focus on what's immediately in front of you, and don't set your sights, too far in the future.
I think sorry, go ahead.
No, quick addition there, Angel.
Yeah, as someone who's intimidated by nearly everyone I ever meet in any newsroom, and going to the Washington Post and seeing like heroes that I've I guess followed for a long time, it's funny to realize that they're all just like us. They all have their own worries. They all have their own, the same worries that we all do, graduating and being early in our careers. We're always looking for ways, and we're always trying to wonder if we'll ever be at those places that we strive to be. And I think it's just good to realize that we're all the same. There's always going to be people who are higher up, and if you just keep your head down and I guess fall in love with your work and just focus on that kind of stuff, run your own race, mind your own business, blink of an eye, you'll be in a really good place.
Thank you so much. And I would just add, remember, ego kills talent. You could be the most talented individual in the room, but if your ego is bigger than your talent, you just wiped it all away because nobody's going to want to work with you. So just remember that. And I'm looking at you, but I'm saying this for everybody in the room, and I have it as a reminder in my office. Ego kills talent. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Hi, I'm Denson Cortez. I'm a journalism mass communications major from the Sacramento area. I'm a freshman. My question is more like an advice question for myself. I've been doing broadcast journalism since 7th grade, so I've been doing it for a while. It's something that's intrigued me since a young age. Now that I'm in college, I've found myself now wanting to branch off into public relations. My mom has mentioned public relations. I just don't know whether to stick with my broadcasting route that I have experience with or chase PR because I know there is money. I mean, there's a difference in wage there. So I just don't, it's more like a device question whether to stick with it or kind of do a hybrid of both or go fully PR.
So you're going to chase the money, huh?
Well, I don't know. Should I be money hungry or should I stick with something I've been doing for a while?
I'll let the panelists answer that.
I think
it's not so bad in the PR corner, I must say.
That's what I've heard.
I mean, I would say, really you need to do what's best for you. I think, I didn't do PR because it's like, oh, it makes more money. I think I just really fell into it. I think what I would do is really, try to connect with your peers who do either broadcast or PR, connect with professors, connect with the PR lab director and, just kind of get a sense of what your life would look like if you do go the PR route. And I think, naturally you'll split one way or the other because they are pretty different career paths. So I think, it'll hopefully kind of choose you and you'll end up in the right place.
What I was going to say is that I think it was you who said it earlier, like, this is a great place to experiment. And you can do both. You can take classes in both. And what I'll tell you is that your experience in broadcast will help you in PR, and your experience in PR will help you with broadcast journalism. So don't think of either like doing both as or not having a focused path as a waste of time. It's not. You're still going to gain valuable skills no matter your path.
Yeah, I would just echo that. And then also I would just note, you need to, whatever you end up doing, and I tell this to students I teach that are high schoolers as well, it's ultimately about what's going to make you happy. And you're the only one who knows that. Some things you may not make as much money, but you'll feel more personal fulfillment. Other times you'll find that, if it's tough to have a livable wage, maybe this isn't for me. That's part of why experimenting is important. But fundamentally, it's about you. I come from a family where my dad is a doctor, my grandfather's a doctor, my mom's a nurse. I kind of went a different path, obviously, that some people weren't exactly keen on. But I think in the long run, if you do what makes you happy, the people who love you and support you, they tend to stick with you anyway, right? That's the great thing about family.
Right on. Alrighty, well, thank you guys for your guys' responses. Much
Thank you for the
appreciated.
question.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brendan. I'm a freshman studying sports journalism. I was just wondering if you guys had any advice on how to get involved as like a lower classman, like a freshman and sophomore, like what you guys did, what you guys wish you did. Yeah.
I only went to graduate school, so I'll let them answer.
Well, I think circling back to something some of our folks off in the ether said earlier, student newsrooms are just a fantastic way to get involved, whether it's state press, shout out to Downtown Devil, they're another great one. I think there's probably plenty of others that I just don't know off the top of my head.
There's the Blaze, there's, sports, student clubs and orgs, news, student clubs and orgs, FYI, student org night. Did you all catch that? That's tomorrow. So 5:30 to 6:30 right here, if you want to meet people, learn about different organizations, get involved, that's the place to do it. But I'll let also the folks on Zoom add, because I'm sure I don't even know all of the opportunities. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, just one other thing I would say too is don't be afraid to try to start your own thing. I know one of my good friends, who actually was at the Wall Street Journal, when he was in college, he started a basketball website that he and his buddies did. And it kind of became a proof of concept that helped him land a lot of great opportunities in even bigger places. And it also allowed him to write about sports the way he wanted to and kind of develop his own voice. Yeah.
And there is Cronkite Sports Network and stuff, and a lot of sports journalism majors covered one of the ASU's teams and stuff. So that's probably your best bet if you're specifically looking for sports. You talk about something that I might have missed out on. I did miss out on that, and I regret it because that's the best way to get your experience specifically for sports. So if you get a chance to audition and stuff, don't be afraid to. I know they post it all the time on Facebook on their group and stuff, so try that out.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have WCSN as a sports guy or sportswoman. There's WCSN. There's House of Sparky. There's a number of different sports organizations, and as I mentioned, don't be afraid to go on the writing side or the TV side if you have one preference or the other. Another thing that I wish I had done, speaking of about writing, is Sun Devil Source or Devil's Digest. Those are two outside of Cronkite organizations that cover ASU athletics, but they're great mentors over there. Chris Cartman, he's over Sun Devil Source, and Hode Rubino, if I'm saying that correctly, he's at Devil's Digest. Both of those are great guys, and as you cover ASU athletics, you'll get a chance to meet them. But don't be afraid to shoot your shot and see if maybe there's a possibility for you to work with them. And as Vanessa was saying, make sure you attend Cronkite.org. And there's a lot of great clubs and activities for you to join. I started out doing a Cronkite Cut, which is entertainment. And that was, for me, my first chance as a freshman to do some stuff on air. And that really helped me out in the long run. And yes, and one last thing is with WCSN and like House of Sparky, I think early on, you might have to do some of the grunt work that you might not want to do early on. But, before you know it, you'll be on camera and there'll be opportunities for you to do it and take advantage of those.
Thank you so much. And hey, don't feel like you have to go for a sports group. Try other kinds of groups too.
100%.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody. All right, this has been such a fun, interesting, engaging, insightful panel that it's 7:11, y'all. We went 11 minutes past our time, but that's okay because thank you so much to our panelists who are here in person, off on Zoom. I see you all. I know some of you are out on the East Coast, so it's actually 10:12 where you are right now. So we appreciate you hanging out with us this evening. Thank you so much again for coming back and giving back to your school, to the students, because not that long ago, you were sitting in that chair. I remember some of you sitting in those chairs not that long ago, and look at you now. So thank you so much for making Cronkite Nation proud and coming back and giving of your time. And to the students, I hope that this was helpful and insightful for all of you. Remember that new rubric that we have for extra credit. If you're planning on turning this for extra credit, that's the professor in me. Otherwise, have an amazing night. Thank you so much and stay safe out there. Thanks for coming.
Hey, really quickly, I'd like to just add, if you guys need anything from me, if anywhere I can be of
Thanks,
assistance.
everyone. Thanks, Chancellor. Thanks, Angel. Bye. Good to see you.